Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Okay, over the last several weeks, I've heard a lot about the new Staccotto HD 4, and they got the 4.5 coming out, and there's been both positive and negatives about the gun, and I think most people like the gun, but there is some negatives to some of the things they changed as well, that people that shoot a lot of competitions and maybe are gun enthusiasts may think is a downgrade when they compare it to the Staccotto C or P series of Staccottos. So we want to talk about the drop safe part of the Staccotto, and we're going to go back and I'm going to show you some pretty cool drop safe systems. Most of my 1911s are 70 series because it's my favorite. There's no better trigger than a 70 series 1911 or 2011, and there's a reason why competition shooters go to that almost every time. And the 70 series has been known and been around for around for 100 years, basically in different models. So that trigger system has been known to be very reliable and very safe. Is there circumstances where you can drop it a certain way and the gun go off? Yes, but in most of those cases the gun is going to be pointed toward the ground when actually it has its weakest point where it lands on its muzzle. So it's a fairly safe situation. If it does go off, more than likely it's not going to cause any major bodily harm to people around it. But it is possible, but it's very much not likely, and it just doesn't make sense for it to really happen and cause a lot of problems. But anyway, moving on from that, the 1911 has been around for a long time. In the 70 series guns, there's all kinds of them out there, and you hardly ever hear any kind of instances where they cause a lot of bodily harm. So that's just my 2 cents. But if you want to talk about drop safe 1911s, let's get down to it a little bit. There are several systems. So the negative thing that I'm hearing about the Staccotto HD is that the trigger is just not quite as good as the other Staccottos. And probably, I would say 50% of the reason why you buy a 1911 or 2011 is for that super smooth, crisp, non-mushy, very crisp trigger that you get with the 1911. So that's probably 50% of the reason why you buy one, in my opinion. That trigger press is so good that it makes people that don't have perfect trigger control and need to kind of work on that a little bit, people that don't have that perfect, practiced up, dry fire every day trigger pull can actually shoot the gun a lot better. And people that do practice, it even increases their likelihood of actually having a bad trigger press, because no matter how much you practice, we're only human. When we go so fast and when we're shooting and pulling the trigger so fast, it's really hard to do that consistently all the time and be perfect, but the 1911 makes that easier. So that's where I'm going with that. But yeah, the most negative thing that I've been hearing about the Staccotto HD, and this is a Kimber. I'm not showing you Staccotto HD, I don't have one. But I want to show you something that's kind of interesting, and I think is almost a better take on the drop safe 1911 system. Now this system cannot be put into the HD, and I'll tell you why, but I do think this is an interesting system that most people have not seen. So this is an 80 series, but this is not a Colt 80 series. The Colt 80 series is kind of what Staccotto took and kind of made it their own, changed a few little things. And in the Colt 80 series, the dingus that is pressed up where the firing pin, let me show you where the firing pin safety is on this. So there's your firing pin safety, if I can show you right here. There's your firing pin safety right here. And this little thing, when the trigger is pressed on the Colt 80 series or the Staccotto HD, it pushes this up, just like that. So that right there is what don't allow this pin to go forward. If this thing is dropped on its muzzle, this pin will not go forward because that is keeping it from going forward unless it's pressed. So The Colt 80 series has a little finger right here that comes up when the trigger is pulled, and that pushes that little dingus in. But what that does is it's all on the trigger. Let me drop this hammer so I don't have to worry about that falling. Okay, so when this is pressed back on the Colt 80 series, this is pressed back, the trigger's pressed back, that little finger comes up as the trigger comes back, and it's putting extra weight and extra grit and more parts in that system of the trigger. So that is always, no matter what you do, it's not going to be as good as the 70 series. I don't care how much polishing, how light of a plunger spring, no matter what you do, it's not going to be quite as good as the 70 series, because you can always take the 70 series at that same amount of tuning to a higher level. It's just natural physics, the way the way things work, the way engineering works. But you add more parts, you add more friction, it just never can be as good, right? So that's kind of where that's at. Now this system, what's interesting about it, and I think, would have been probably a better system for the HD if they would have went this route. Now I understand why they didn't. This system utilizes the beaver tail safety of a traditional 1911. And this is one thing I like about this system, is it does not affect the trigger pull at all. So that being said, I'm going to kind of show you what's going on here. Now, this is more rare of a system than what the HD uses, Staccotto HD, or what the Colt 80 series is. Because when you press the beaver tail, let me show you this. When you press the beaver tail, it pulls that finger up. So this is all in you just grabbing the gun. It's defeating the drop safe. So as soon as you let go of the gun, this drops and it does not allow the firing pin to go forward. So this system does not affect the trigger pull at all, which is really, really cool. And I know a lot of people haven't seen this. This is just an educational video is all it is. But I just wanted to show people this because a lot of people don't know about this, because Kimber is one of the few manufacturers that actually use this system sometimes. And I think it's a great system for traditional beaver tail safety guns. So that's why I wanted to show you guys. But this is basically making this gun a 70 series trigger system with an 80 series firing pin safety that does not affect the trigger pull whatsoever. So there's really no negatives to this particular system as compared to the Colt 80 series or the Staccotto HD series. And the reason why the HD series can't have this system is because it has deleted the beaver tail safety, which I think is a good thing that they deleted the safety. But I do think this system is a better system that allows for a better trigger pull and get that, get the main reason for having a 1911. You still get that advantage, right? Because the trigger is so smooth and crisp. This gun right here is a 3-inch 45, and it has like a 3-pound super crisp, beautiful trigger pull, and a small package 45. So it's just a cool system. Like I said, that little finger, this little finger that's coming up right there on the right side, and I push the beaver tail in, is raising up, and it pushes on the little dingus right here that makes this pistol drop safe, which is really cool. And some people do not know about this, so I wanted to show you. Whereas most Colt 80 series will actually bring that up when you're pulling the trigger, which will make this trigger pull kind of gritty because it has more friction. As this trigger bar is moving back, it's moving parts up here, and it has several parts in here that allow this to rotate up, and that kind of makes your trigger pull a little rougher. The Staccotto HD does have a more refined system than the standard Colt 80 series, but it's still going to affect your trigger pull, and that's why you hear some people negatively talking about the Staccotto HD. Just wanted to explain that to you guys. A lot of people don't know, they don't understand what people say or mean when they say that the Staccotto HD ain't as good as the older Staccottos in trigger pull, and I kind of wanted to explain that and show you another cool gun that has a system like that that doesn't have that problem, because a lot of people haven't seen that. So God bless, have a great day. Please like and subscribe, please leave comments below. Just just let me know if you thought this video was interesting, even though, you know, the gun may not be interesting to you, but the education that I'm giving you may have been interesting in seeing this particular system, drop safe system, in person may actually been cool for you. If it's the first time you're seeing this, just let me know below. Say, that's the first time I've ever seen that system, so that's pretty cool. And I would appreciate it. That's what I'm doing these videos for. Sometimes it's just to show you and help you learn something maybe new. And some of you probably already know this, but some of you have not seen it. I know when I first discovered how this worked, I thought it was interesting, and I thought more people would want to know. So God bless, have a great day, and we'll catch you guys later.